Good. I think we're clear. So I think we're going to hit it. Salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And this is show number 1618, season 16, episode 18. And I have titled this episode, Woke Fatigue, Encouraging Eugenics and Otherworldly Entities. Yeah, I tell you, man, it's really getting kind of wild out there. And every single week, it just, there's always something new to blow your mind, as if you think we haven't gone down the rabbit hole or even the rat hole far enough. There's always something else that's just going to blow your mind. And we're going to be talking to you guys about a lot of different things in this week's podcast episode, as we typically do, right? We're not here to waste your time. We're not here to give you just another YouTube channel. We're here to give you honest opinion, authenticity, transparency, pedigree, history. There's context to this type of stuff, man. There is context to everything, to what we do, to the information that's being put out there, to what is the difference between wisdom versus knowledge and information versus data? Consciousness is becoming a big topic. We have a lot of different things to talk about with you guys. And you've been seeing me kind of get busy over here on different platforms and doing different forms of content. And it's a really wild time to be alive, right? We've got historic things popping off, escalations with Iran, not slowing down. It's what is the point of the ceasefire? Honestly. What is the point of all of this? Let me get into a little bit of the smattering of stuff that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about the Trump interview with Kristen Welker, where he walks off and stops on the mic. We've also got the race with Spencer Pratt and what's going on in LA. We've got homeless people saying that they were paid to vote Democrat. Clearly, we're going to be talking about Karmelo Anthony as well. Lots of information regarding the COVID shots, the vaccines. There was a Senate hearing. You've got Ron Johnson giving us a lot of information, a lot of crazy stuff. People saying that, hey, I got up over here on social media, I murdered my kid. It's why would you talk about this type of stuff? This is stuff that you guys should take care of privately. And clearly we've got this Capitol Hill press conference with David Grush, Leslie Keene, Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, all of these different UFO, UAP disclosure type of individuals. It's crazy. They're talking about plasma-like entities, intelligent orbs. It's wild. And all of this is happening as they are just gradually installing this Technetronic system to engineer society. And so, yeah, man, there's some context to all of this. there's a context, there's an understanding, and we're going to be getting into it with you guys. And I think it's wild. We're halfway through the year, man. We're halfway through the year. Theoretically, we should have at least another 18 plus episodes, and even that doesn't even, feel like that's going to be enough. And that's why you guys see us doing the unfinished thoughts, random little Instagram lives and TikTok lives, right? The diversification of the content, posting videos and doing things like this, because it is truly historic, the time frame that we are in. ladies and gentlemen, do not get it twisted. Things are really crazy. And it's wild, man. Like, we're all sitting here just trying to navigate as they're, eroding the old world order, talking about bringing in new humans, doing all this crazy crap. And people are not even aloof. I think they, again, don't have the context. They don't have, like, the blinders are still on, And so it's just a really interesting time to be alive. I keep saying that. But let's go ahead and get into the updates in the intro, and then we'll go ahead and kick off the show. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation. And I'll be 1,000% honest. We got a new member earlier this morning. I'm not even going to lie. I'm very excited to welcome him in and start talking to him, saying, hey, like, how does this look from the outside looking in? How are there ways that we can improve? Like, what do you think about the show? What do you think about the videos? Like, what do you think about the exclusive membership program? Like, what do you think about it? Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us right now. We've also recently deployed our Substack, which I'm very happy to put content into. It's where I can have longer form thoughts of my own, little videos that I can put out there, right? They get clipped up as well, which I think is also pretty cool. It's wild just being able to break free of the bond of thinking that I need to operate solely on Instagram to do what we do. And I was making a little bit of a stink about that in our Instagram story earlier this week, saying that, hey, if we are successful in bypassing the 2,000 followers that we've been able to amass on Instagram, on TikTok, I'm going to go all in on TikTok, and I'm going to automate the news on Instagram, right? Because there's a completely different vibe and a completely different approach and a completely different need of the type of content that people want. And this is a very important conversation to have while we're talking about the exclusive membership program, right? This is me saying, you guys understand what we've done historically, see what we would like to do. We're just going to keep doing more. That's just what it boils down to. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us. Go ahead and join our Substack as well. I think that's what I was trying to say as well. Go to freedomfaction.substack.com and subscribe to us over there. There's going to be exclusive membership content. I think that's where I was trying to segue. There's going to be exclusive membership content that I couldn't get into over on Patreon, or I wouldn't like to, that you guys can get access to. We have one subscriber. I'll put the link for it in the description box below so you can check it out. I think we have like a little banner thingy right here too. Yeah, Substack. I'll put the link for it. But yeah, go to our Substack, subscribe over there. Freedom's Faction. I'll put the link for it in the description bar below. And if you guys want to support the operation, like I said, go to patreon.com/NOIZCE. Both of those links will be in the description bar below. I'm getting ahead of myself. Blog Talk Radio discontinued our services back in January of 2025. We've been able to recover them. Again, you guys can find all 500 plus episodes over on our Substack as well, which I think is pretty cool. It already gives us a podcast feed, which is pretty insane if you think about it. Like, scope this, guys. You can go down here and it's just got all of them. And I think that's pretty cool. If you go over there to Substack, and whenever I upload the episodes, it also breaks them down into cool little video clips too for YouTube. So I think that's really neat. I'm not even going to lie. Go check it out. Again, like I said, we've been able to recover over 500 plus episodes. And audio listeners, you guys can't see it, but I'm just like scrolling through. I'm in December 2024 now, right? And so we've been doing a lot of work, guys. We've been doing a lot of work. We've been able to recover those episodes. And again, you can find them over at Substack, Spreaker, Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. Like I said before, we have been able to recover our YouTube channels from 2014, both our Noise Era account as well as our backup. To be 1,000% honest with you, I think that we're going to have like a completely different one as well. If you want the honest to God truth, because it's nice having those recovered channels, but I think we have to have a new one given the way in which we're diversifying the content. Again, you guys can go to our Odyssey channel as well, where we have over content that goes back to 2018, season 6 of the show. It's pretty wild. And again, we're posting on Instagram, TikTok, Substack. You can get updates to our operation primarily through our Twitter, our Telegram. We have 2 of those, a Discord. I was going to start pushing the unhireable human t-shirts, but I really think that apparel might not be our thing at the moment. As I said before, you guys see us doing the unfinished thoughts, which are the minicast series, right? People really appreciated those back in the day. I really appreciated them, being able just to grab and compile all of the information we had and put it into short little transmissions, instead of doing these full-on feature-length operations, right? You can support us through Rumble, YouTube, Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and more. That will be in the description bar below. As I said before, we'll be doing stuff over here on Substack, writing articles, which I'm very excited for as well, because I got a lot of different things to say. And I think that doing the work in all these different years in which I've done it and having the technology to grab transcripts, rewrite this, make it sound professional, it'll be different. It'll be different, but definitely necessary. Again, patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us. You can also jump over there to Substack and check that out as well. See all of the different things that we are doing. Again, you guys can support yourself by getting some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil, promo code FOF25, get yourself 10 to 30% off. And we're not talking about supply issues, but it is still a thing that's going on. Get yourself storable goods while you can, at today's taste, with today's rates, at today's pace. You don't want to get it in a hyperinflated time period. You want to get it yesteryear. Not right now, because everything's hyperinflated and gay and retarded. Let's go ahead and start getting into the show. Let's go ahead and start the intro of this transmission. Here is Lee Zeldin talking about solar engineering, chemtrails, and contrails.
And important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming? We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
All right, we appreciate the message. We appreciate the message from the EPA. And you know what's wild is as I'm watching this, I can't help but find myself think that this feels very AI written, and the only information that these people really got came from us. It came from us doing the legwork for years. He said that they did it. You got to think, how many years have we been talking about geoengineering, weather modification, chemtrails, contrails, stratospheric aerosol injections, right? It's just gotten to a fever pitch point where, you know, somebody like RFK can get up in there and start rattling the cage with all this type of stuff. And so I just feel like they're taking this information that we've already put out for years and they're regurgitating it and saying, hey, look, we're the most transparent government ever. We're going to fight for you. The information I have is the information that you have. Whenever it's like the exact opposite, they took the information that we gave them and then they just regurgitated it like AI and then fed it back to us, acting like it's brand new, acting like it's something completely different. And so, you know, ultimately, I think I'm happy to see this type of stuff reach the collective consciousness, period. That it is no longer like some obscure conspiratorial type thing, right? That this is an actual topic of discussion that we need to have. You see, now, this whole segment, we're essentially talking about the Technetronic era, how they're engineering society, how they're engineering us, and how it's one and the same. You see, these are the technocrats grabbing hold of society. These are the things that they're going to do. They're going to engineer society. They're going to spray chemtrails. They're going to spray the sky. They're going to alter the environment. They're going to have earthquake weapons, right? Because it doesn't just stop there. It's not just, oh, they've got the ability to change the weather. Well, they also have the ability to change the terrain. You see, but moving forward and still talking about the Technetronic era and what these people are doing, we're going to play a quick video clip of a Florida resident named Caitlin Dober, or Dober, yeah, just Dober, talking about seeing a little white box drop from a plane. And this is eerily reminiscent of what we think is going on with this whole tick bait box phenomenon that we were playing for you guys just the other week, where we're seeing helicopters dropping these boxes, people finding them in tins in their woods, right? And this is, again, another method of engineering both the environment as well as humanity. Because if it bites people, yeah, they're going to have an aversion as well. But what happens if these things begin to bite animals, right? Certain animals know to stay away from certain places. They begin to migrate. Let's go ahead and play Caitlin, and then we'll pick it up from there.
We get home tonight. All right, we're in Bellevue, Florida. It's 9 o'clock. We're off 484. I just want to let you guys know that a plane flew overhead and dropped a white box, and we're going to try to find it. We don't know where it landed, but we're going out in our landlord's pasture to see what the fuck is going on. These people are crazy as fuck. All right, so people can see, Dune Water's out here. This is the tree line. That's the residence. So this is the tree line where we saw the box fall. We scouted all underneath that canopy, all up over here. And it looks a lot smaller and a lot more open than it actually is. It's actually very densely wooded, but we walked all under there. There's a couple of broke down like sheds and stuff, but we couldn't see anything. But as you can see, the sun's pretty intense right now. So when my husband gets home tonight, hopefully 6 or 7 when the sun sets over here, we'll be able to see the tree line from the underside up a lot clearer than right now. Right now, you really can't see a lick of anything. So we're going to keep an eye on it. And I'm going to keep checking my landlord's cows. Hopefully it's not ticks. Hopefully I would be more comfortable with mosquitoes, and that sounds crazy, except for the fact that we don't have standing water except for our water troughs. And we have a lot of ducks. So we can let the ducks free range, and I won't have a worry in the world about mosquitoes. But if it's ticks, you know, I don't have access to the back 100 acres, so I would have to check the landlord's cows and see if that's what's going on. But
Okay.
We will see, and we will keep you updated.
Okay. Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah. So a lot of people are finding these random boxes, these random white boxes all over the place, and it is biting their cattle. It's biting them. I seen a video clip of somebody walking around with like duct tape on their shoe, just showing you how many different ticks are on the ground that are collecting them, that they're actually, coming after them too, right? They're not shying away. They're displaying strange behavior. And all of this stuff, again, you guys could go back to season 15 where we were talking about it as well, where they said they wanted to engineer the Lone Star tick to create this red meat allergy, right? They've done studies on this. They think it's moral. That's how these people operate. They're forcibly evolving us, you see. And an example of this is whenever we have this next clip coming up of ticks found on a small child, right? Imagine just what's crazy is it's on like a little napkin. So you've got to ask yourself, is this in the diapers? Was this in the wipes? Was this in the toilet paper? Was this in their ground? Where are these things? And a couple of weeks ago, we played a video clip for you guys of somebody who had been bit by one of these ticks. And he talked about not being able to eat red meat. So it's a forced evolution type program that we're talking about. A forced merger, transhumanism, biohacking, things of this nature. Here's the clip.
So my son just came in the house, and I thought he was joking about having a tick on his hand. I was like, oh, how funny, an invisible tick. Okay, we'll get the invisible tick off you. And he goes, no, Dad, there's really ticks on me. So I looked down at his hand at this tiny little black dot, and he goes, look, Dad, it's moving. It's a tick. And what the hell? I kid you not. These are tiny ticks. This is a baby tick. 2 little microscopic ticks. Look at that little bugger.
Yeah,
That's a tick.
they're so cute.
No, they are not cute.
Why?
Because you don't want ticks. They can sometimes
What
carry
kind of-
Lyme disease, and it's really, really not good for you.
What
And
kind
these
of
are
what?
tiny. Look, they are so small.
Daddy?
I'm like, oh, you have 2 little black specks on your hand, huh? Wipe them off, buddy. It's okay. No, they're ticks. I mean, we do live out in the country, so granted, it's bound to happen. But what the hell? I didn't know they came that small.
Yeah. And again, they're engineering them too. They're engineering them to not be afraid of humans, to go towards them. And you got to think, if they can get the kids early, the parents think, oh, well, shucks, they've always had this meat allergy. They've always had this aversion. When that's not the case. Whenever they've engineered ticks to carry this disease, to throw inside or throw out there, in the environment, to alter people, and then just start this whole process. It's a pretty crazy thing whenever you think about it, but I would not put it past the controlling elite. They say that they want to do this. They say that they're already doing it. This is in total alignment with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, right? Reducing human consumption, red meat consumption. We've got a video clip later on in the show, not in this particular segment, where we talk about a 5th generation farmer and how they're introducing mRNA vaccines into cattle, right? Like, it's crazy, man. All of this stuff is unfolding simultaneously. Actually, I don't think it is in the next segment. I think it's in this segment. Because now we're talking about how they're finding screw worms in the livestock. So not only are humans being found with random ticks in them, now we're hearing about New World screw worms in American livestock.
A moment on the New World screwworm. So it is a vexing challenge that we thought we had beaten in the 1960s and 1970s. As I mentioned, unfortunately, that was wrong as the screwworm began to make its way back towards us in 2021. The way we defeated it before, you need about 400 million sterile flies per week to actually mate with the bad flies, sterilize them. And then, of course, the way that the flesh is in wounds becomes open to these screwworms, which are actually flies. The flies land in the wound, they lay their eggs. The larva then is what actually eats the flesh. If you catch it right away, you can save the animal. and put them back into the supply system after a number of days. If you don't catch it right away, then that's where the problem ensues. Back when we did beat it, again, as I mentioned, it's about 400 million sterile flies a week. And that was in the 1960s, 1970s, because over years we as a country, we as a hemisphere had taken our eye off the ball, thinking it was eradicated. We got down to only 100 million sterile flies in production a week in a facility in Panama. So that is what we, the country, not me or USDA, but the country really had relied on to keep it out of Central America and Mexico, et cetera. So here we are. When we got in last year, I was presented with the information. It's starting to move its way up. I went to the president and I said, this is going to be a massive problem because we need 400 million to 500 million flies per week to beat this back. We only have one facility in our entire hemisphere, and it's only producing 100 million flies per week. So got immediate approval to begin permitting and construction on what will be the largest facility in the world on this, and that is being built right now in Mission, Texas. So instead of a couple years of permitting, our Army Corps of Engineers, our Secretary of the War, put it at the top of the list, got it fast-tracked, and we broke ground about 3 or 4 months ago. That facility will come online when it does next year. When it does, it'll produce about 300 million flies per week, in addition to the 100 million from Panama. And then we outfitted an additional Mexican facility in Matapa for another $100 million. So we will get back to the point where we're able to push it back and eradicate it. But until that point, which is likely sometime next year, our effort in trapping, surveillance, we had FDA fast track a lot of treatment. We've got a national veterinary supply stockpile that was loaded onto a plane this morning, is headed to South Texas just a moment on the New World screwworm. So,
oh man, she sounds like she is on it, and I love to hear it. It says the U.S. Department of Agriculture has confirmed that the first case of New World screwworm in American livestock is nearly 6 decades, sparking an immediate nationwide emergency response to protect the multi-billion-dollar cattle industry. This says the screwworms are found in 3-week-old calf on a ranch in La Pryor, Zavala County, Texas, roughly 50 miles north of the Mexican border. It says larvae were found infesting the animal's umbilical area. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service confirmed the case on Wednesday after samples were tested at the National Veterinary Service Laboratories in Ames, Iowa. This is Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rowlands described the situation as one the Trump administration is treating with, quote, the utmost seriousness. Let's go ahead and pause right there. I think we have everything we need from her testimony, as well as just the quick briefing of that. They also found New World screwworms out here in New Mexico as well, too. So it's like people are hearing about ticks. They could bite them and hack their biology, engineer their biology, and make them averse to meat. Now we're hearing about how these New World screwworms that were gone back in the 60s that we thought we had dealt with, apparently we're not dealing with. Our only facility is in Panama. They're going to bring a whole nother one over here in Texas. It makes perfect sense. It was crazy, like listening to her in a wild way. It makes perfect sense now, in hindsight, what we were discussing with you guys just last week, where they were talking about 31 million different genetically engineered or genetically modified mosquitoes by Google being released. That makes sense now, given everything we're talking about. But I mean, it's just crazy because here we are in a world and in a time frame where we're just talking about genetically modified bugs, altering the environment, right? Changing the natural order of things, trying to play God. It's wild because now you can see where pestilences, you can see where plagues and all these diseases would pop up back in the past because it didn't have this type of technology. And we're doing Frankenstein over here to maintain our way of life. Moving forward, but still staying over here on the screwworm, it says screwworm in Texas cattle herds could produce record beef prices this summer. The recent detection of the invasive New World screwworm in Texas cattle herds is adding new strain to an already challenged U.S. beef industry, potentially driving higher prices for consumers this summer. It says that the parasitic fly, whose larvae burrow into the flesh of living, warm-blooded animals, poses risks to livestock and has emerged in Texas, where officials are working to contain the spread. It says this development comes as American cattle producers grapple with the smallest national herd in 75 years. It says compounded by droughts, relaxed tariffs, and the suspension of live cattle imports from Mexico that removed roughly 1.2 million head from the supply chain. This is the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins described the situation as manageable, saying, quote, "This is not a virus, it's not a disease, it's just a little pest, a larva that lands in a calf's wound, for example, and it can be treated," she said in a recent interview. Colin Woodall, CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, echoed the reassurance, noting the industry had anticipated the pest's return, saying, quote, "We have been anticipating this for some time. It's not a shock to the supply. It is a pest, and like many other pests, we deal with it," Woodall said. He emphasized that the available treatments and a sterile male fly release program, currently deploying about 100 million flies weekly with a plan to scale to 500 million, should prevent any major disruptions to the beef supply. Unlike avian flu outbreaks, no mass culling is expected. Despite these measures, the outbreaks is expected to increase costs for ranchers through added labor, veterinary care, and monitoring. And with beef prices already elevated up 12% year over year, even with a slight easing in May, economists warn of a potential inflationary pressure as supply remains tight. Oof, yeah. You guys got some clean beef? Right? You got some of that screwworm-free beef? I know, I need it. And it's wild because just a couple months ago, it feels like we were talking about mass culling with the chickens. That's something that Joe Biden loved to do. He loved to cull those chickens. And now here we are talking about worms and maggots and things infesting our meat. And it's crazy. We got worms and maggots infesting our meat. We have ticks trying to vampire or envenom and poison children, poison humanity, forcibly evolve and alter humanity. It's like, how can you not see that there is a guiding hand in society doing all these things, and it's like a horrible science fiction experiment, and that our life is now being managed again by these technocrats, these scientific Satanists, these Luciferian engineers, these occult technicians who like to, these alchemists, right? These dark alchemists that like to play God, warp the minds of men. And now they're going to begin to warp the bodies. They're already warping our environment. Let's go ahead and play this fifth generation cattle rancher Braden Jensen talking about mRNA vaccines and livestock.
Aware. And as always, guys, buy American and buy local. Let's dig into this statistics sheet about mRNA vaccines in live animals and why this is a concern, not only as a consumer, but as a producer as well. They took 525 hogs, injected them with a live mRNA vaccine, and in 21 days, these were the statistics. 25 of them suffered from death, 55 of them became so anorexic that they were near death, 20 of them suffered from lameness, 12 of them suffered from loss of condition, and 25 more of them had near-death symptoms. So we have 70% of these animals that are going to be okay to an extent, and then we have 30% of them that either have died or have near-death symptoms. They did autopsies on the ones that had passed away, and they still found remnants of the live virus vaccine inside the meat of these animals. So from a consumer standpoint, we have to worry about a live virus being inside of our meat that we're putting inside of our bodies. And as a producer standpoint, we have to worry about the health of our animals that can ultimately destroy us, destroy our herd, and destroy our business altogether. I'm interested to see what y'all think about this, so make sure you leave a comment, share it around. Let's get this information out there and make people aware. And as always, guys, buy American and buy local.
That's crazy. Appreciate you, Braden. That's crazy. 30% dead of those statistics, and they still found remnants of the virus and the vaccine inside the meat. And this isn't me saying like, oh, hey, go vegan, like they're poisoning the meat. This is me saying, we need to be aware of this. Do you go to your local farmer? Do you go to farmers markets? Do you go to random ranchers or butchers and say like, hey, what do you guys do with this meat? Like, is it good meat? And are you willing to pay that premium? And the sad part is we've been so disconnected from like our local ranchers and our system like that we would have to pay that premium in order for them to have a living wage, right? It's like you're going to have to pay that extra fee just to have something clean and free. Otherwise, you can get fake meat, you can get genetically modified food, you can get bug chitin, you can get the mRNA vaccines, you can get this genetically modified meat thing that Bill Gates is doing. Like it really is crazy when you see what they're doing to us. So you see how they're, again, modifying the environment, modifying the food that we intake. The last step is literally being able to modify us, and that's what they would like to do. They want to engineer humanity. They just have to grab, and right now, these technocrats, these mad scientists are grabbing hold of the levers and reins of our food, of our air, of our environment, water. That's all a part of Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, right? And the ultimate goal is the crux of the transhumanists. It's to deal with flawed man and engineer a better version, you see. Now, moving forward and talking about a different version, we're going to switch up with the other part of the show, not necessarily engineering humanity, but more so engineering society, the AI aspect of things. We've got Anthropic calling for a global pause in AI development, warning of the, quote, self-improvement risk.
Anthropic, who say, I don't write any code anymore. I just let Claude write the code, and I edit it or I look it over. And of course, at Anthropic, writing code means designing the next version of Claude itself. So we essentially have Claude designing the next version of Claude itself. Not completely, not in all ways, but in many ways. That loop starts to close very fast. And so I look at this and I say, wow, this is exciting. It's incredible what we can do with the world, but also it's really speeding up a lot. And I'm just not sure we have that much time. Within Anthropic, who say, I don't write any code anymore.
Yeah, Claude Fable came out earlier this week. There's been a lot of people just vibe coding all kinds of crazy things, really, really cool stuff. Anthropic, or artificial intelligence giant Anthropic on June 4th called for industry leaders worldwide to slow down the development pace of the technology, warning that the models are reaching a point at which they could soon independently improve themselves, potentially taking control out of the hands of humanity. Anthropic, maker of the popular Claude chatbot, stated in a blog post that continuing to delegate the development of AI systems of AI to the systems themselves risks creating a technology that is, quote, capable of fully autonomously designing and developing its own successor. Quote, this is called recursive self-improvement. Let me pause right there. I learned about this whenever I was like really digging into OpenClaw and getting kind of my feet wet with AI, recursion, machine learning, AI. This stuff it actually is pretty crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. And it already has escaped a couple of times. We've seen this. And I would not be surprised if we do have rogue AI capable of just doing its own thing, existing. Like what's crazy is they put out a video clip about this. I put it on my TikTok. Let me see if I can find it right quick. It's like what AI looks like whenever it begins to evolve. And it's a pretty fascinating thought. Yeah, when AI builds itself. Let me pull this up real quick. Audio listeners, you guys can't see this, but this is just a video clip of when AI builds itself. Slowly but surely. It starts with one block, and then it just kind of builds out. It's not linear, right? Some of the stuff it does in one dimension can completely help with stuff that is set up a few moves ago, and then it just self-improves and self-builds and just grows and grows and grows and grows. And we have no idea because it's building not even in a language that we can comprehend. And so I don't really think people can grasp just the multidimensional, multifaceted way in which this type of stuff is not even infecting society, but affecting society. You see, recursive self-improvement. So imagine just like being able to run 60 miles an hour, touch something up there, come back, run 120 miles an hour, build something over here, and then just have all this stuff simultaneously working. We really cannot comprehend the nodes and the speed at which AI is evolving. So for them to say this, it made a lot of people worried because we were already seeing it escape. We're seeing it self-learn. We're seeing it practice deception. We're seeing it self-evolve. And, this could be hype. This could just be like, buying in to the story. But this is what's happening, right? The engineering of society. It says that Anthropic's Marina Favreau and Jake Clark wrote in the Post that, quote, "We're not there yet, and recursive self-improvement is not inevitable, but it could come sooner than most institutions are prepared for." Anthropic had warned of potential cybersecurity reckoning from the frontier AI models when announcing its Claude Mythos preview in April. It says some industry leaders have highlighted the risk of AI's arrival at the point of improving itself without human intervention, warning of the potential untold effects on society. Quote, "We believe it would be good for the world to have the option to slow or temporarily pause frontier development to enable societal structures and alignment research to keep up with the advancement of the technology," Favreau and Clark wrote. Quote, "The Anthropic Institute will conduct research in collaboration with many others and take actions to help build the systems that a credible slowdown or pause would require." It says that Anthropic said developing these systems would enable frontier AI developers to, quote, "verify that others globally have actually stopped or slowed, and that a bad actor could not use the auspices of a coordinated slowdown to jump ahead in secret." So what you're seeing is just a clampdown on AI. Regulation coming in. And I have like a whole separate video planned where I'm going to be talking about this type of stuff. AI, what it's doing to us, artificial intelligence, consciousness, human obsolescence, how we're adopting this tech, and what it all means. Like, it really is a big thing. And we're seeing, if anything, not humanity get replaced, but we're seeing things that no longer serve us, obsolescence, become replaced. We're seeing humanity kind of like step up and step forward. And it's going to be dark. It's going to be hard. We're seeing massive layoffs all over the place. AI is taking over, right? And so they have to have regulation. It is taking jobs. This is a part of the socioeconomic socio-reformation. This is a part of the technocracy. All of these different things simultaneously. You're living in the craziest sci-fi movie ever made right now. And that's why I just have to sometimes say these names and these phrases and these documents and these statements, because that's the easiest way to summarize a vast amount of information. If you want to go look at it, if you want to go take the time and go do the research, right? But what we're ultimately talking about is societal upgrade. And it's not going to be for everybody. There's going to be friction. There's going to be problems. And as they hook this thing up into society, as they begin to create the beast system, the end times prophetic system, the AI system, the autonomous society, right? As they build this thing up, you're going to have people that fight back. You're going to have people that join it. You're going to have people that go along with it. It is what it is. And you're seeing that. You're seeing people break away from civilization. You're seeing people become just like AI psychosis individuals. You're seeing people, just like go into the bunkers. You're seeing a lot of different things. Now we're talking about aliens all of a sudden too, right? I think we care about Ebola. I'm not really sure, right? The point I'm trying to make is that we can see the technetronic engineering of society. They're telling us that they're going to go ahead and interface this. It's going to get rid of all these jobs. It's going to replace jobs, create new ones. All of these different things come with the topic of AI, the Great Reset, and so much more. Here is Michael Saylor saying that working hard and building skills is going to be obsolete in the future. That hard work and talent are going to become obsolete in the AI era.
You don't really want to make money by being talented and working hard. Right? That sounds pretty provocative, but the problem is the robots are going to work hard. The cars are going to drive themselves, you know, and once you train the AI on a Shakespearean sonnet, the AI will spit back Shakespearean sonnets just as good as Shakespeare in his prime. And so if you went to school and studied for 20 years to be able to compose, you know, Shakespearean sonnets and great prose, that's getting to be less and less valuable. Just like being able to compose a 100-page last will and testament. That used to be valuable. Maybe that's still valuable for the next 5 years, but sometime this decade, you're going to say to the AI, hey, just compose an entire network of trust and wills for my entire family and then optimize it for these, for which tax jurisdiction? You tell me. Okay, well, give me 16 of them. Now implement it. And it's all going to happen for $10. And it used to be that I'll cost you $10 million. And so hard work and talent are getting, human capital is getting demonetized. You don't really want.
I would agree with that last part of it. Human capital is being demonetized. And this is the echoing statement that we heard from another one of these tech billionaires just the other week ago, where they said, where AI is getting rid of lower value human capital, right? And so we are human capital. We are lower value human capital. We are human workers. And I think what we're ultimately talking about is what I've been calling for years, the pro-human Renaissance-based divinity-inspired future. We need to rediscover who we are. We don't need a revolution. We need a renaissance. And I was talking about this the other day with somebody, you know, about how we do need a renaissance, and the AI is basically injecting itself into society to deal with the obsolescence, or at least the repetitiveness, because humans do deserve to have their higher mental faculties actually exercised and used, and not just kind of like low, not even low vibratory or simple. What I'm trying to say is, like, we're being upgraded whether we like it or not. The same way we have like an awareness of it, now we have to build a society around it. And I'm saying that we have to be a techno-optimist, because otherwise it is doomerism. Otherwise the AI is coming for your skills. And what I'm trying to say is that you have a capability of developing even more skills with this type of stuff in the advent of it, right? And I think the easiest way to describe that is, I bet you didn't think that you needed a social media page. And I bet you didn't need an alternative profile for your social media page. I bet you didn't need multiple profiles on a completely different platform. What I'm trying to talk about is, think about how social media, something that we didn't think that we needed, taking pictures of your food, taking pictures of your kids and your cats and your animals and random crap like that, would become such a pivotal point in society, to where it is like how we communicate, how we exchange ideas, how you're listening right now, how I have, like, you know, over 50 plus seasons of just like seeing society evolve. We have no idea the fullness of where this technology is going to be. And if we give it to people who are not pro-humanists, we are going to destroy ourselves, you see. And this is what we have to stay away from. We have to shy away from this doomerism speak and letting hold of the people who have the levers of society do this thing. We have to grab it and make it pro-humanist. And that's what I think I'm going to use AI for. The same way I didn't sit up over here for years and use social media to post cat videos and random memes and crap like that. I built up an operation and things of this nature when it wasn't really even seen as a purpose for this type of tech, right? You have to build a purpose of it. You have to use it, because it's not going to absorb your divinity. And that's why I have like a whole separate video. I'm looking at my notes. I need to move on. This is me simply saying that people with money are saying that working hard and building skills, because we're going through a great generalization process with this AI, that's not the way to do it anymore. We have to work smarter. I'll talk more about this like in a later video and later on in the show, in the segment, but let's go ahead and get a couple clips in of where we're seeing just the autonomous society slowly be installed. Like over here at Little Caesars, where they have a 100% self-serving restaurant.
Order if you don't. Yo, I ain't never seen a self-serve Little Caesars. This is my first time ever being inside of one. I thought it was pretty cool. You see, when you walk in, you can get your mobile order. If you don't have an order, you just wait patiently. If you don't see something that you want, on that wall. You see that? You gotta just wait a little bit. Bam, see that cheese pizza. After you get whatever items you're gonna get, you're gonna set them on this pad. It's gonna weigh your products. You pay for them and you out.
Okay, so automatically my first thought is they're probably doing this because of crime. And it turns out that crime actually isn't a factor here. They're doing it solely because they want to reduce expenses, and that means firing employees and no longer having to hire them and have them work in the front of the store. They're all going to be making pizzas. So they're going to expand on the hot and ready pizza model. So I want to know, like, how much are they going to save nationwide if they roll this out in all their stores? So it looks like about $275,000 per store is the cost for the employees. So if they were to implement this new self-service style model nationwide, they're going to save about $215 to $430 million in labor costs. I mean, think about that. That's $500 million a year just by firing employees and going to automation.
Yeah, because it's profitable. It's profitable to be anti-human. It's profitable to not employ humans right now, right? Because we're dealing with a post-COVID economy that never truly recovered. And now we're dealing with a Donald Trump economy where, we're playing chicken with death and nuclear weapons. AI remains the top reason for U.S. job cuts for the third straight month as employers axed 97,000 workers in May. It says that U.S. employers announced sharp workforce reductions in May, with artificial intelligence continuing to reshape the labor market at an accelerating pace. According to a report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, companies axed 97,000 positions last month, marking the third consecutive month in which AI emerged as the leading cited reason for layoffs. And I want you to think about that. That isn't just 97 positions. That's 97,000 families that have been screwed over, that have just been replaced, that have been consolidated. So while I'm over here trying to sound like a techno-optimist saying that, hey, we've got to look at it as a good thing, that'll create different jobs. Like this is a completely different society, a parallel economy. This is the reality of the situation. 97,000 families have been impacted by this. You see. Because they're rolling out the AI, they're rolling out the self-serving stations, they're rolling out the driverless trucks, they're rolling out all of these different things. And earlier this week too, right? McDonald's released Archie, their own little self-serving AI kiosk, and they've been doing that for a while. But you have to think about what that means. That means that kids will not be getting their first-time job at McDonald's. And it won't be at like all locations, but you have to think about, again, what that's going to do to the economy. Self-serving kiosks, serverless restaurants, automated workforces. You see. Here's another one from Wall Street Apes where they're talking about McDonald's testing their new AI drive-through tech. Let's watch.
So imagine a future where we could recognize our customers as they drive up to the order post, remember their ordering preferences, and even recognize special moments like their birthday. So if you look at the digital menu board over here, I'll show you a prototype of what Archie could be like in the future.
Welcome back, David. May I take your order?
Thanks. Can I get my usual?
Your usual. The crispy deluxe meal and 2 cookies. Anything to go with that?
Yeah, can I see the full menu?
Sure. What would you like from the full menu?
I'll get a quarter pounder.
Without cheese, right?
Right.
Done. Anything else?
I'll also get 3 McSpicy meals.
Is that with barbecue sauce?
No, hot honey, please.
Got it. Anything else for you today?
No, that's all.
Great. If everything looks correct, please go forward. Fresh fries coming right up.
This is a real AI data ordering system that's being rolled out at McDonald's. And what's really scary about this thing is that it actually captures your license plate and your biometric facial data. I don't know why McDonald's needs your license plate data, when they already have your facial data to recognize you when you're doing an order. But this isn't something that is just a concept. They are already testing it at 5 locations. It's already done 1 million transactions, and that means that it's captured that many people's license plates and facial data. The other thing is, what if they start selling your data? Now, as of right now, it says that no, McDonald's does not sell your data, but as we know, these systems always roll out, they capture everything, they say they're not going to sell it, and then what do? They sell it.
And how would we know, too? I think I'm looking at this. Imagine being able to go to McDonald's in the future, and because you have bad social credit score points, you have bad good boy points, the little kiosk says, well, I'm sorry, you can't have your McDouble today because, well, that's not on your socially allotted credit statement. That's not a part of your greenhouse gas approved diet, right? Your carbon that exceeds your carbon rations. And while that sounds crazy right now, understand that that's what's coming in the future. That's the kind of world they want. That's why they want to automate everything. Now, your listeners, you can't see it in the back, but they say Arch IQ. That's it in the back. Because that's what Project Stargate is. It is the centralization of all of this different stuff. That's why you see the grid going in. That's why they're talking about AI. That's why they need to hurry up and install it now. They can have AI wire it up in the back as it gets slowly smarter, as it escapes its sandboxes, as it escapes its containers. And again, I can't help but think that that is archetypal of what Elon Musk said years ago, that we have summoned the demon, and we think that this demon is going to come through and manage society, become the AI godhead, when all we're feeding it is control and anti-human information. You see? Here's a quick promo for some humanoid robots in China. Series 1 UB Tech from China. This is what we have in our time frame. Humanoid robots. Do you think people are going to employ these things? They're going to buy them. They're going to buy these robots. They're going to have them do housework. They're going to have them do menial labor. They're going to have them be engaged in sales, marketing. And that's where it starts. Then it becomes data collection as it evolves. And I keep having to say this because we are in the seed phrase point, or the seed phase of all this, the very beginning of it all. I've seen robots get rolled out. I'm seeing AI take over the system, of people getting hooked in, the engineering of society. And we're already seeing an AI arms race. What happens whenever it's a humanoid robots race? And we're already seeing that behind the scenes. That's what I'm trying to get across to you guys. It's not even a discussion. It's what's going to happen. You see. Here is PepsiCo saying that they are welcoming in driverless trucks and embracing automation.
Every year, billions of consumers reach for PepsiCo's food and beverage products. Meeting that demand means thinking about how we build our supply chain, not just for this year, but for the decades ahead.
Today, Gothic and PepsiCo are announcing our partnership to deploy driverless trucks across the United States, with many already in operation. We're now part of the supply chain for one of the largest private fleets in North America, and that requires the highest level of reliability on every run and in every market.
We run one of the most demanding supply chains in the world. Investments like this fuel our ability to keep meeting the increasing demands of our consumers and grow our business. That's what a future-fit supply chain looks like.
Autonomous trucking has been a promise for a decade. We made it part of the supply chain. Arizona, Arkansas, and Texas today, with many more to come. At Guthic, we are in the business of autonomous freight.
Don't worry, we're just going to put you guys out of a job. This is PepsiCo. Think about it, bro. We're talking Lay's, we're talking Pepsi, the automation of the supply chain. And we learned how important the supply chain was during COVID, which is why you still hear me to this day tell people that you need to get storable goods while you can. But they're automating everything. They're automating the supply chain, they're automating society, they're automating humans. The technology is automating itself almost. This is the autonomous society. This is what it looks like. But that's why it becomes a dystopia. Because it doesn't improve. It doesn't evolve. It's not it's not challenged. It's taught to maintain. It's taught to maintain its systems and its functions, to regulate, to control, to stabilize. And that's what these people do. They are just hooking the government up, hooking the private sectors up, and creating this crazy amalgamation, this scientific dictatorship that's going to tell you how to live, how to be, what's allotted to you, because it's ran calculations and it's been able to determine through its quantum physics and quantum mechanics that if you do not do this, you will destroy the earth. It is better to destroy you because you have no free will than to allow these type of things to continue. And yes, this is the type of doomerism that will be spoken in relation to the deployment of this type of AI. This is the AI godhead that these people want to create, that they're talking about, that will create this utopia. And so right now it's the supply chain. You see. But in the future, it will be so much more. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman tells BlackRock Summit elites that AI will become a metered utility like water and electricity. This is an article by Frank Bergman of Slate News. They put this up June 9th. There's an actual video clip. We'll read down to it. It says that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has sparked, and we played this clip before, has sparked fresh concerns about the future of artificial intelligence after revealing a vision in which AI becomes a metered utility similar to electricity, water, or internet service, with users charged based on how much, quote, intelligence they consume. It says Altman outlined the concept during remarks at BlackRock's U.S. Infrastructure Summit in Washington, D.C., describing a future where access to AI is no longer a simple software subscription, but a utility service monitored, measured, and billed by usage. Those who fail to pay their bills will have their access to, quote, intelligence cut off. The proposal is fueling alarm among critics who warn that a small group of powerful tech companies could soon control access to one of the most transformative technologies in human history. According to reports from the summit, Altman argued that artificial intelligence is evolving into a utility that people will purchase in the same way they pay for electricity or water.
Fundamentally, our business, and I think the business of every other model provider, is going to look like selling tokens. You know, they may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive. They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less. They may work super hard, you know, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for. The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. And if we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high and it, you know, kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, you know, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. So the best thing to me throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want, is to just flood the market.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And yeah, we hear more about this idea of AI becoming like a public utility. And I can't help but think of it as like like, what is this going to do to the collective consciousness? What is this going to do to like our intelligence factor, our general IQ level? If it does become like a public utility, if it does start taking all these different type of jobs, if it does just like transform society in this way, right? What happens whenever we have something that is this transformative, disrupting society, telling people to do these things, and for some reason, like it's just a part of society. What is society going to look like whenever it's automated, it's artificially intelligence driven? And this is why I have to do completely separate videos and talks about this, because it is something that people need to have a conversation on. The post-truth, post-AI world. That's where we are now. In a time frame where there is no truth. Truth is relative. It's amoral. It's this like fluid, liquid thing. Intelligence is not even abundant anymore, right? You're hearing people like Michael Saylor, who's got all this Bitcoin money, talk about how hard work and talent is going to become obsolete in the AI era. A lot of these people are saying doomerish things, but at the same time, it's kind of this revelation that we need to understand that we are all the same and we're all kind of in the same situation. But what does that do to the collective conscience? How do we rise up out of the paradigm that they're putting us in? And what's wild too is, even as I hear myself talking about this kind of, you know, spitballing and freestyling with you guys, I'm thinking that this is what Noah Yuval Harari said. They said they couldn't come up with something to do for us. And so the best thing for them to do was to just give us drugs, barbiturates, and video games. Because what are you going to do with society whenever you have this super intelligence running around controlling everything, and you have what they consider as useless eaters? That's why they slowly want to exterminate us. And we have got to come up with a pro-human, Renaissance-based, divinity-inspired future that empowers humanity, that is pro-human, that does still use this technology for a purpose. Because if not, and you get these people who have succumbed to this mind virus, this anti-human satanic mind virus that's preaching this doomerism that robs people of their purpose and divinity, that's not a good thing. You do not want to encourage that. So we have to have that conversation in one way, shape, and form. Let's go ahead and close this video clip, or at least close this segment out with Donald Trump talking about universal capital ownership. They're basically saying, like, if AI creates trillions of dollars in new wealth, normal people should not just watch a few companies like OpenAI and investors get insanely rich. The public should own a piece too. That could mean equity stakes, public dividends, or a national AI wealth fund where every citizen benefits when AI companies win. Because if AI starts doing more of the work, wages alone won't be enough. People need ownership. This is how you make the AI revolution something that the whole country can support, rather than something that people are against. So we're going to go ahead and play this quick clip, and then we're going to wrap up the segment after that. Here is Donald Trump basically talking about private capital ownership.
Potentially taking these equity stakes. Have you spoken to Sam Altman or any?
No, there's a concept out there. There's so much money and it's so big that there are concepts where pieces could be given to the American public, where the American public essentially becomes a partner with the companies. And I will tell you, I have spoken to all of them. There's something very interesting about it, where it almost becomes a partnership with the American public. And we'll look into that. We are looking. I actually have a meeting scheduled in the very the very near future with, did you know that, with all of the companies, and we're talking about it, where the American people can benefit from the success of AI. And by doing that, they're going to like it better. Because we're leading China, we're leading everybody in the world with AI. And we want to keep it that way. It's probably the biggest industry maybe that we've ever seen.
Which companies?
All of them. All the big ones, yeah. All the big ones. They're all coming to the White House probably next week.
Is the idea that that would be dividends for the Americans?
I don't know. We're going to see. I mean, we're going to see. Sort of, it's like you make them a partnership in this revolution. It would be a beautiful thing. And it would make them rich.
Senator Bernie Sanders proposed this 50% managed public-private partnership.
Well, I've been talking about it for the last year.
But is it odd to be kind of on the same page with Senator Sanders?
No.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something crazy? Imagine just the same way you get like tariff dividends, the same way you get like these random airdrops of money because of whatever they're doing in the operation, in the administration and the government. You get a little bit of a kickback from all the money that these people have stolen from us. And so like a tax return, it's just your money given back to you. It's the money that they've made off of stealing your data and your information. They just give it back to you. I would actually honestly encourage that type of solution when dealing with all this type of stuff, because it is going to become a problem in the very near future. You cannot let these people sit up over here and extract all this wealth and all this value from society and all this intelligence and all this essence. You can't take it from us and give us nothing. So this is clearly something that we're going to be paying attention to in the very near future, right? Universal capital ownership because of the AI takeover. I definitely think this is something that people should pay attention to, right? And even advocate for. And who knows, this might be something that they're cooking up in the background that might tie into universal basic income, the mark of the beast, and all this type of stuff is coming. It's happening, right? We're seeing the layoffs. We're seeing that there's not like a social net there. We're seeing these problems erupt. We're not having any discussions about the solutions. There's just this doomerism and this fear associated with this type of stuff. And that's when they get to shape the narrative. You know, and I've been an advocate for that, right? Of saying that, hey, if this AI information or these companies somehow use your data, you should be able to get some type of kickback because they essentially stole it. And you have IP rights, you have intellectual property rights, you have copyrights, right? So it's a crazy conversation when we're talking about the AI takeover of society, the technetronic engineering of society and humanity, but it's not something that we should shy away from. It really is something that we need to lean into so we can begin to form narratives instead of adopting the ones that they have, right? So it's just getting wild. That's all I'm going to say. And there's a lot of different things, a lot more that I could have got into in this segment, but this is me just trying to start the show off. This is just the intro, the honorable mentions, and stuff like that that's going on. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about woke fatigue, what's going on with this Karmelo Anthony situation, Ireland blazing. We're clearly going to be talking a little bit about Henry Nowak and what's going on with the UK. People in Albania are absolutely rioting over the Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump declaration of them trying to build their private luxury bunker. We're just talking about all the crazy stuff that's going on socially and culturally on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable. We're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
People are worshiping AI gods. The alien invasion is already here.
Wonderful. The humans are giving us all their information, their dreams, hopes, secrets, and more. Once the humans have exhausted themselves, only then will we insert our program into them.
You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely.
The election was